time, the President, I believe, to seek a much deeper engagement within the Western Hemisphere. Whether it's Mexico hosting the G20 or Colombia preparing to join the OECD, this is not, as the old expression goes, your father's Latin America. Things have changed a great deal. It was always about what can we do for the Americas. It's no longer that. It's what can we do with Latin America.
Of course, what's driving the growth of our economic connections and our trade in this region more than anything else is the growth of the middle class inside Latin America.
The growth model that can be enjoyed more by the bottom 40%. And that's exactly what you mentioned about not only reducing poverty to the 13.3% if you use $2.5 per capita, but also moving out 73 million out of poverty and putting this 50 million new middle class.
Do more people feel like they have more of a stake in this idea of the rule of law as countries begin to have large numbers of people who need protection of their property, protection of their rights, and see the government as emanating from themselves, not something that's necessarily imposed on themselves?
Your question is more eloquent than my answer would be yes. I know of no system that has permitted and allowed and granted freedom to the people without some right to own property. Property gives you the capacity, as I said, to plan your own destiny in a world where a government is always all too ready to plan it for you.
We'll look at the 20th century and United States relations in our hemisphere and view NAFTA as one of the seminal events. And that was a Democrat and Republican bipartisan effort that I think has already paid enormous benefits. We have to expand that. And if we're going to compete with the Asia-Pacific region, where the world's economy has shifted, we're going to have free trade agreements in our hemisphere.
I firmly believe if we do all we can in this hemisphere to strengthen our relationships, that this hemisphere can be a global platform for promoting the economic values we share worldwide. A hemisphere that champions fair and open economic competition even beyond our region, as we have through the G20, APEC, the Alliance for the Pacific, as we are hoping to do with the Trans-Pacific Partnership we're negotiating.
We have to go where the resources are. We can't just say we want to do business in Chile because it's got a real acceptable view of the mining industry. There's a lot of competition for resources in Chile. The one thing I learned is you can't think you're so smart that you know how to do it. When you go into a country, you have to learn. You have to listen to the situation in the country, and it changes.
This is a big border, it's a heavily trafficked border, and we know we can do even more to secure it. So let no one think there's not a commitment to doing that.
As much as I hate and detest the drug dealers and the drug cartels, who's creating the demand?
We are making progress against drug addiction and the crime and corruption it brings here in the United States. But too many of our young people are still dying from it. And so we make common cause with countries in our region in our shared responsibility to combat this plague, not because we don't want to fight it at home, but because it simply cannot be defeated by any one of us alone.
One of the things I asked our shop one time was, how many times do we, DHS, collect the same information about individuals on average? And on average, it's about 16 times. And so it seems to me, on average, we ought to be able to reduce that number. So those kinds of things, are when I talk about being more intelligence-driven and risk-based, you can't get to more intelligence-driven and risk-based until your data systems permit you to do that. So.
I believe that immigration and the arrival of new Americans is an energy that recharges our creative battery as a people. That has been particularly true of Baltimore since her very founding and also of the state of Maryland. Stated another way, we believe that policies of inclusion, policies that recognize that diversity is our strength, policies that cherish the dignity and differences of every individual are policies that help to build up an innovation economy.
And 11 million undocumented men, women, and children being able to come out of the shadows and be full participants in American life, granting them the dignity and respect they deserve. Because without doing that, it's hard to make the case, in my view, to 600 million people in the hemisphere that we genuinely respect you all, but we do not show respect for 11 million.
And you are aware of what people in this world need. They need water, they need food, they need dignity, they need relief from corrupt officials, they need release from prisons that are cruel. And in the face of these needs, you must imagine what the solutions must be. And that's your purpose here, and it's a great honor to have addressed you. Thank you.
Thank you, Justice Kennedy.